All right, so here we are back once again with the second half of this presentation where I'm going to be giving a little bit more of a visual annotation type presentation on why the muscles constrict the way they do and how they follow with their actions related to their bones. So, as we previously stated, the first muscle we're going to go over is the supraspinatus muscle, and as previously stated before, it is connected laterally to the greater tubercle and medially connected to the supraspinous fossa. Now, this is again a posterior view of the skeleton, and this muscle is actually responsible for abduction of the arm, which is when we move our arm from anatomical position, we're moving it straight out, like we're moving it almost like a T-pose. So you're moving your arm into a T-pose, basically, just to put it in broader terms. So why does this happen? Or why is this muscle responsible? Well, if we can visualize, so we have the greater tubercle right here. When we move our arm this way, when we move it out, we can almost imagine the greater tubercle is moving towards the supraspinous fossa. And because of that, the muscle is constricting. And this is why abduction is the result of the constriction of the supraspinatus. Okay, so on to the next muscle. We are now moving on to the infraspinatus. And this muscle is responsible for lateral rotation. So if we can imagine the arm from anatomical position, again, this is a posterior view. I'm sorry, don't ignore this is wrong. It's actually moving this way. And again, if we can visualize why this happens, this is because the attachment point here on the greater tubercle, similar to the supraspinatus, and the medial connection right here, which is the infraspinatus fossa, the attachment point here is constricting and getting closer to this attachment point right here. So because of that, this is why this action or lateral rotation is responsible due to the constriction of the infraspinatus muscle. So moving thirdly, we have the teres major, which is located beneath or below the infraspinatus muscle. Its lateral attachment point is the greater tubercle, and its medial attachment point is the lateral border of the scapula. And from looking at this, exactly the same thing as the infraspinatus muscle, its movement or the result of its constriction is going to be lateral rotation. So again, this is a posterior view moving in the exact same direction. So you're basically just taking the arm, we're looking at the left arm, and you're moving it in a counterclockwise position. So why does this work again? Simply just same as before. This attachment point right here where the humerus is getting closer to this attachment point, the lateral border of the scapula. So finally, let's go ahead and take a representation or take a look at the subscapularis. This might be a little bit trickier to visualize, but I think we can break it down and figure out why the certain action corresponds with the muscle and why it constricts. So this is a anterior view. This is not a posterior view. So where it connects laterally is the lesser tubercle, as previously stated, and medially connected to the subscapular fossa, which is this big connection point right here. And this is, if you can imagine, this is the inside of the scapula because the scapula is located on the posterior side. This is the inside of the scapula. So this muscle is actually responsible for medial rotation of the arm. And don't let this be confused with, all of this stuff right here, because this is don't let it confuse you with being the same direction, because this is a posterior view, whereas this is an anterior view. So with this arm, we're actually moving it in the opposite direction as these ones. So why is this medial rotation? Very simple. Once again, the attachment point on the lesser tubercle is moving closer to the subscapular fossa, and that's why medial rotation results in the constriction of this muscle right here. So I hope you enjoyed my representation of why the certain muscles in the rotator cuff correspond with the certain ways that they are visualized. So thank you for watching the presentation. Hope you enjoyed.